toxicity and hormones. Okay, so we have looked at the toxicity tests and the hormones. I'm going to take a step backward and just provide context for everybody. The main driver for the work we do at the clinic is really a data-driven approach and this approach is driven by our diagnostics. So what are diagnostics? We do a lot of analysis with your biological samples, right? We do diagnostics for your genetics. It tells us what your underlying risks are from your genes, from your parents that you inherited. And then we look at the biological biomarkers from your urine. In the urine, we are looking at toxicity. We are looking at hormones. We look at your hair. From hair, mostly, we are also looking at toxicity. We look at the blood. We look at two things in your blood samples. We look at what we call extracellular. In the extracellular, we measure four things. We've talked about it. We measure inflammation. We measure metabolism. We measure the complete panels, and we measure the lipid panels. So those are the four things we are looking, and some underlying genetic risks, which would complement the genetics that we do here, and that's typically done with saliva. And then we also look at your stool, and here we are looking at the pathogen diversity. So we feel that with this complete set of clinical biomarkers, we have a better sense for where your health is, and therefore for us to intervene. So I'm going to talk about the biological or physiological systems that we look at that would give us indicators of any kind of underlying illness, and then try and map that back to toxicity and hormones. I want to make sure contextually, because some people are in our workshop, some people miss, I want to make sure everybody gets the baseline. So typically here at Anti-Fragility Health, we look at 6 physiological systems. We're looking at your cardio, metabolic. That's really the heart, the blood, and the metabolism, your digestion, and how all of that works. That's number 1. Number 2, we look at your immune system. Number 3, we look at your musculoskeletal. Number 4, we look at your gastrointestinal. Number 5, we look at what? We look at your stress response system. And number 6, we look at your hormones, your hormonal system. Okay? So these are the 6 physiological systems that we look at when we are looking at these underlying clinical biomarkers. So these systems, these 6 biological systems, it's very important that you understand, these 6 physiological systems run your body, right? So whenever you come and we do your body composition, we are looking at your musculoskeletal, right? How your body is structured, your water, your minerals, and that. When we run your blood and your stool, we are looking at the gastrointestinal, right? The whole gut architecture, from eating up to pooing and all of that, and peeing, right? When we measure your hormones, we are looking at your stress and the other hormonal systems we'll be talking about today. Immune system is difficult to measure. Typically, we can look at what we call TH1 and TH2. Or overall, we want to look at how your natural killer systems are fighting your underlying diseases, right? So typically, your immune system is an outcome of your overall health itself. Cardiometabolic, we look at that when we do your blood and different things. So all the clinical biomarkers we are looking at is to actually get a sense of what's happening in those 6 underlying physiological systems. Is that very clear? Is that making sense? So I'm going to clean this, and then I'm going to talk about the issues of toxicity in those biological systems. So first of all, let's start. What is toxicity? Toxicity, the main issues around toxicity are things that are from outside. And these are things that would cause concern inside the body or cause what we call dysregulation. Things that create dysregulation inside the system, right? And typically, the big focus for these things is mostly heavy metals. I know a lot of you didn't do chemistry, but the key issue with heavy metals or radioactive elements is that they produce radiation. Even though it's a low-grade radiation like they do during X-ray, that radiation upsets the underlying balance of the body. So when you take those things or you have high mercury levels, we're going to look at some of the results. Those heavy metals cause a lot of concern, right? And those heavy metals come from different places. The next things are just chemicals, right? And these are chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, chemicals that are in creams, in lipstick, in creams for the face, because a lot of you, when you're buying cosmetics, you don't really look at the underlying chemicals inside. And so when we talk about hormones, we're going to talk about xenoestrogens. These are estrogens that come from chemicals that you use on your skin, right? And they actually affect your estrogen cycle. The last one are just pathogens that cause toxicity inside of us, right? And it might not be big that they do something, but the number of them overall might cause a serious concern with regard to our health, right? It's like drinking petrol or some liquid or something that is just toxic to the body. That's poisonous. That's chemical also. They could be pathogens, right? If you take over. So this toxicity is a very big issue because it affects all these biological systems. And so, for example, there's a lot of research that if you have high mercury, high cadmium, and those elements, which are heavy metals, your risk for cardiometabolic, for immune, and for your hormones are seriously affected and are the cause of disease. So we're going to quickly review the toxicity stuff today, the test we do. We discussed that on Wednesday, and then we're going to talk about hormones. But let's just go back to hormones. What are hormones? What do we think hormones are? What are they? Louder, please.
It's like messengers to supply.
Where do they come from? Your name is? Sai. where do you think hormones, do you know an example of a hormone?
Lady hormone. Right.
Okay, so let's just check that. So one of the women hormones, or hormones that we all have, estrogen, right? And then we have testosterone. Yeah, progesterone, right? These are mainly the sex ones. Then we have the thyroid ones, and the adrenals, and the thyroid ones, right? But typically these ones drive these systems.
But where's hormone come from? Like,
That's the question I wanted you to answer.
I'm asking you because I don't know. It's like I know that your gene on your cell, your insula cell or out, but what exactly hormone? I mean,
So we're going to explore that. So hormones are actually made across a couple of organs. It's manufactured inside our body.
So your body produces hormones?
Yeah, with the food, the nutrients you feed it. Sometimes you can take hormones from outside. They call them the bioidenticals. Sometimes when you're in hormone replacement therapy, they give you hormones from outside. There are lots of concerns, issues about how well the body metabolizes that, right? Because everything that the body produces is like a pipeline, right? There's a process around. Hi, Saul.
Hi.
There's I'm trying to show you a simple chemical process. So there are inputs. There's the process of how we produce it, and then there is how we destroy it, the metabolism of it, how it is then destroyed, right? It's like cholesterol. If you produce it, you have to destroy it. You have to excrete it. And if the amounts go to, we're going to explore all of that. So for all of this, and the balance of all these things really drive a lot of our underlying health. For men, I actually had a document with the map. Our overall cycle goes up and stays that till life. If you look at that same map for women, it goes like that and then goes down. That up and down is the monthly cycles that women go through. So, and that's why women have a lot of mood changes and a lot of physiological changes. So, in the study of hormones, we tend to focus on women because of the significant variability. But it is becoming more and more important to also focus on men because of issues of erectile dysfunction that's increasing in the population, right? Hormones is a very sensitive topic to talk about because of the deep issues of sex and intimacy and relationships and the impact that it has on all of that. It's a very sensitive topic. So most people get divorced because of this topic, right? Because they don't want to talk to their doctors about it. Or first of all, both parties have to be ready to talk to the doctor or talk to somebody about it. So people would prefer not to have sex at all than to actually go talk to the doctors about it, right? And so that is a growing concern. And when you look at the literature, 50 years ago, very few men had low testosterone. Now, almost 50 to 100 million men are suffering from it. So it is an underlying growing concern with regard to things like toxicity and the things we're talking about. Any other just high-level questions before we start going deep into hormones?
To answer the question, is a hormone made? Actually, hormone is made of cholesterol.
Yeah, well, we're going to look at the detail. I didn't want to start answering that question because then they're going to say, well, where's cholesterol made, right? So it's a compounding question. Yes, so all the hormones are made in different places and from different things, but mostly from cholesterol. And they're made in different organs, and they're also detoxed because they have to be metabolized out of the system, if not the levels, because what we measure are the levels of the hormones. and whether you're over-regulated or under-regulated actually affects your overall system. So these systems have to all be working. So one of the things that we do here is that when you come and we start you on what we call a foundation lifestyle support to give all these systems a chance to work. You know, traditional medicine, when you go to doctors, they try to fix one of those systems. The point is that you cannot optimize just your immune system, because the immune system needs these other systems operational. You cannot optimize just that. You cannot optimize just this. Do you understand? And so lifestyle medicine, which we practice, looks at the whole body and tries to bring homeostasis or balance back into the body. So we try to focus on all those systems. So as an overall introduction, does that make sense? So now we're going to start looking at the tests that we actually do, and then we'll talk at some of the outcomes from those tests. Okay? So can you pass this out, please? So I think that's the male one. I don't know if I included the female one there too.
It is female, isn't it?
That one is female?
Yeah, that's a female one.
Okay. So what I want you to do is,
Oh, it's mixed.
yeah. But because men and women are, yeah, men and women are the same. Okay, okay. What I want you to do is to go to this map. We're gonna walk through this map. You'll see the map. Keep going. Next page. Next page. That map. Yes. Yes. So the steroid pathways. So you remember what Dr. Yi was just saying? Where do all these things begin? Cholesterol, you see at the top of the map there, right? So, and if you look at all the different things that are created out of that, you know, see why cholesterol is such a challenging issue? So let's just start there. Yeah, that's the map. You're on the right click, so that's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah, so just look at the top where it says steroid pathways, okay? I'm not going to give you an exam on this. We all have eyesight problems. So I'm just going to talk about some critical points on this pathway. Okay, so look at the first big one, progesterone. Just straight down. Where is it made? It comes from the ovaries and some from the adrenals. You see that, right? Okay. Don't forget that cholesterol is flowing all over our body. And don't forget that, stay with me. If not, you're going to get lost. Stay with me. Yeah. If you know, you'll get lost. And then you'll be wondering where you are. Okay, so just stay with me. So the level of cholesterol in our blood, the levels are very important, right? And that's why most of us, they'll say, oh, your cholesterol is too high or it's too low, right? So we're going now to the source of the issue. If it is too much of it, it causes concerns because it then goes and aggregates and causes underlying problems. If it's too little, you see that these steroid pathways are not addressed and satisfied. Can you get me some water, please? So the first big one is progesterone, right? You saw it on the board. I'm not going to go into too much details about it, right? You're going to read. You can take this home with you, right? And then the next big one, just following the line across, is cortisol, right? So that's another big one. And then it looks at the overall cortisol. So I'm moving now from left to right. So just follow me on that diagram. It's very important, right? So then you see down there the overall cortisol picture. Then the DHEA joins up with what progesterone is producing to form DHEA, and that comes from the adrenal gland, right? So the DHEA, we're going to talk about it, begins to become some of the progenitors, or what we'll call the input material for the building of that thing that drives the world, testosterone. Isn't it? Doesn't that drive the world? Hello guys, hello. It drives the world, right? No, now we have moved to testosterone. So move to the right. Here, I am here now on the third strand. DHEA, you see, we're starting with testosterone or androstenedione, right? Which then takes us to testosterone. Now we begin to see some evidence that God must have created man before he created woman. Because it is from testosterone and androstenedione that you begin to see estrogen begins to show up. Isn't that interesting, guys? Hello, say yes.
See, where was estrogen in this map? You're talking about
It's see the estrone E1, estradiol E2, and estrol E3. So those three things are what make
below the testosterone.
it is below. Yeah, it is made from testosterone. So God must have made man, and then he said man wasn't good looking enough. And then he says from the chemicals inside the man we're gonna make woman. Right? Then he made woman. I was just giving you some supporting evidence to that.
No. Where is it made? Ovary, lesser amount, elsewhere from the
HEA and testosterone.
Yeah, man doesn't have ovaries, so how can it be that?
Well, but then they could have created the ovary and give you some of it, but most of it comes from testosterone. Just follow the diagram. Don't fight.
I'm just asking.
Yes.
Our question is too boring, that's why.
Yes.
Help you.
Yes. So the testis was adapted to create the ovaries. Right? If you look at the overall architecture, the testes and the ovaries all made androstenedione, which really forms the testosterone and then goes later to create the estradiol 2, E2, and E3, which is really the bigger amount of it. So this is a very comprehensive diagram of what we call the steroid pathways, how the overall hormones are tested. Do you have any questions about this pathway? Is it complicated? Yes.
Okay, why is it
We're going to make a translation of it to Korean.
No, I don't know. So far I understand, but it isn't very,
Hey, Victor.
very
I thought you would take your normal seat there. So you can give me too much. So you can give me a lot of trouble. Okay, so it's not too much information. So imagine if I showed you all the biochemical pathways in the body. So the architecture from the creator was very comprehensive. So the last thing we're going to read is down here where they say other factors affecting the production of primary reproductive and adrenal hormones. So think about it. If you didn't have hormones, what would happen in your body? We will not be even able to be human. It's not just babies. We will not be human. So hormones is not just really only about reproduction. It really, as we're going to talk here, you're going to see what happens. Okay? So, do we have handouts for them? No, I have copies here. There are copies here. Don't make any more copies. There are copies here. All right, so now let's just go on reading at the bottom. Increased cortisol, right? What's cortisol again, Kim? Yeah, it comes from the adrenal, but what is that cortisol? What is it? It's written there. So cortisol is really what we release as part of our stress mechanism, right? And what is our typical stress mechanism?
Cortisol is metabolized by A5A.
Yeah, but you need to just listen to me. If not, you're going to get lost in the chemistry. Okay, so just listen to me. Okay, listen to me, guys. No, we're going to get lost. So, what is stress? What is stress response for? Why did God give us our stress response architecture? What is it for? Protection from what? Correct. Correct. And what is our typical response to threat? That's one. What's the second one? Flight or fight, right? Isn't that our typical stress response? We fight or we fly, right? We run. And cortisol is the hormone that enables that response, or that supports that response. We need to really understand that. So when you are scared about your job, or about your marriage, or about your bank account, or about some of the other things, cortisol, and if it stays too high all the time, we have what we call chronic stress, right? So if every day you wake up and you look at your husband and you hit the asshole, you're gonna kill yourself before he dies.
You might kill him too.
I wasn't talking about murder. I was just talking about how your biology would affect you. So if every day you wake up and he's there and you think, I wish you were dead, you might end up dying first and he will inherit all the money and marry a new wife. So it is better you do that.
Not worth it, right?
Not worth it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, she knows.
Not worth it. Can you sit over there, please?
Yes.
Okay. And so give us a handout.
Yeah, she has it.
Okay. All right. So let's look at it. So increased cortisol, stress, inflammation, Cushing's disease, and obesity. So part of obesity, when you see fat people, it's not just from overeating. It's actually the body, the cortisol levels are high. Because you see, when cortisol increases, the body is storing carbohydrates or sugar for the fight or flight, right? It's saying we need to store things in case we need to run, or we need to fight the lion and we don't know how long the fight is going to be, so we need to store it, right? So it leads to obesity. That's the challenge about stress, right? Okay, let's look at the next one. So that's when it's high. When it's low, notice, see what happens. People tend to build addictions when cortisol is low, because you need coping. You need to cope. Oh, they don't like me, so I need to take some. Right? So that is, you see it there. We have glucocorticoid use, opioid use, chronic marijuana use. A lot of those uses come from people who don't have enough of the hormone to balance their judgment, fight or flight. Right? You see the point? Instead, we start saying, oh, let's just support their use. Right? Wow, I have an amazing class today. Are you enjoying this?
Yes.
So that was cortisol, right? I mean, for the people who missed the class, I was just explaining that if you look at the hormonal pathways, it's very clear why God created man first before he created woman. Because if not, women would not have been able to make estrogen. then there would have been no ability for reproduction. So God had to create man first and create testosterone, which was going to drive the architecture for reproduction. Then he had to create woman so that we could actually then reproduce properly. That's my interpretation. Don't. And that was a joke. That was a joke. You guys are looking serious like you want to kill me. The women are like, yeah, I know. Okay, so we were talking about cortisol, so we're now going to look at the other two hormones, DHEA, right? PCOS, we know what PCOS is for women, right? That's the polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a big issue for a lot of young women. Acute stress, bupropion, so they take things to sleep, Xanax and all those admeds that they need for depression. And then when you have decreased DHEA, you have aging, rapid weight loss, and then you look at all those drugs and things that you use to support that. Now let's look at the next one, which was testosterone. So when women have increased testosterone, they also tend to have PCOS, right? And you know that now in the Olympics, they say they're going to be measuring testosterone to determine whether you're male or female, since we cannot use organs anymore, right? And when you have decreased testosterone, which is the challenge for men as we grow older, that's when the belly begins to show up. Obesity shows up because of the decreased testosterone, right? And then for women, when you have increased estrogen, you look at all the other things that happen, right? PCOS, inflammation, pregnancy. Typically, if you're pregnant, you have higher estrogen for that whole process. And then when you have decreased estrogen, you have hormonal birth control, ovarian failure, menopause, anorexia, and a lot of other things. When you have increased progesterone, right, it's the whole issue of pregnancy to support that whole uterine lining and all of that. And then when you have decreased progesterone, it comes with all its other things. So you tend to find out that hormonal balance is almost the most critical underlying issue for determining health. And so for us, it is really one of our mandatory diagnostics when you come in here for us to check that baseline. Because when you have all the other issues among these systems, it is important for us to eliminate any aspects that may be caused by underlying hormonal systems, right? And so we want to adjust those things before and or during when we then work on the lifestyle problems. A lot of these issues around hormones are very intimate issues, right? They tend to show up in our expression of sexuality, right? For women, it's a loss of libido. We all know what libido is, right? The desire to be intimate, to have sex. It's pain, even during medical exam when the doctor is examining. It's even when you are having incontinence and all of that. And so the expression, the physical expression, but then when we do this underlying test, we then find where the imbalances are going. For men, it's the same thing with libido, erectile dysfunction, and all the other issues that come with hormonal imbalances. Is that making sense? So hormonal testing is a very critical path to determining your health. So if you don't know where it is and you're just blaming the other person, right? Because we are actually our underlying chemistry, and hormones is a critical part of that chemistry. Looks like you had a question. Yeah, you're good?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for coming today. All right. Now let us just go back and go back to the first page, and then we'll be done with this page, with this booklet. So, how many people can tell me the basic hormones that we just went over? How many of them were there? We just went over them. Cortisol, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and the last one, bonus on that, somebody is going to get a present. No, no checking of your notes. DHEA, he got it, so he has a gift. All right, so let's just go over them again. Cortisol, DHEA, right? Are we good? You need to know that shit. It's running inside your body right now, making you excitable and amazing. Yeah, I know. Well, I added it in the report. So, so if you then look at the report, you can then begin to see how we read those numbers. So now that you know these things and just how critical they are to our overall survival, or really homeostasis, right? You can begin to understand why the balancing of it is all very critical and very important. And the interesting thing, guys, is that every person is different. We don't encourage people drinking water from plastic bottles. Can you give her a proper water cup, please? We don't encourage plastic bottles. It's not good for you. Yeah. We're going to talk about toxicity.
Even if it's not been exposed to sunlight, or
how would you know it has not been exposed?
well, I mean, if you store it when you buy it, you know, you assume it's fresh and you get it in a.
You should watch the trucks. You should watch the trucks carrying that stuff. The biphenyls. You should watch the trucks. And you don't even know how long it was bottled.
Yeah.
Some water is better than other waters.
Well, how are you going to know that?
You get white water from the city well versus alcohol.
Yeah, but so all we recommend is that you get a proper double filtration filter rather than speculate the source of the water. Or you go back to your village and drink water from the spring, right? The real source of pure water, right? Any questions on this? So there's a lot of detail inside this test. I'm not going to go into it, but what I wanted to go into was to begin to look at some more extensive details. So can you pass this around?
This is 63. This is
Take it from them so you can pass it around.
She's full.
Do we have enough? All right. So, we'll just talk about. Yeah, we will print some more. Can you hear? Here. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna put it down. Oh, okay. So let's look at just, we've been talking about different levels, right? And let's just look at some recommendations here, right? These recommendations we're going to talk about does not address bi-identical hormone replacement therapy. It only looks at supplements that we use to support. So start on this page, right? Yes, we're going to start on that page. We're going to look at just supplements. So we start with having very low E2. Who's going to win a prize by telling us what E2 is? No, what is it called? called in that diagram we looked at? It wasn't called estrogen. It's part of estrogen. What is it?
Estradiol, I was right.
Correct. Okay. It's estradiol, yes. Okay. So you see some of the recommendations that they make there, right, in terms of some food items and in terms of things that you can take. For example, we recommend that you take Metalloclear, which you see recommended there, with Sulfura Clear, and these are detoxifiers that really clean your system. Why is that important? They're almost starting at detoxifiers because sometimes the reason why you may have low E2 is because we need to clear the pathways for the detox and for the metabolism, so that may open up and perhaps actually balance the E2 levels with the other things that we are providing, like Meta 13C, okay, which is one other supplement. I think it's here. Yes, that's the Meta 13C. Later on, you can look at all these things. We have them. That's fine. Whose phone is that? Okay. And then when you have modestly low E2, because so you know when you look at these diagrams, if you go inside, you would see a lot of detail how it actually measures all of that. How did this thing follow? When you go inside the diagrams, that's the one for progesterone. Well, I don't think. Okay, if you go on the second page, you can actually see the measures for E2, E1, right? Mine is, yeah, on that second page. I'm not sure where yours is, but you can see the breakdown of the measures, and it tells you what the result is, what the units are, and the ranges, right? You know what a luteal patient is? That's premenopausal, right? That's people who can have babies. And then postmenopausal is after, right? So you see the ranges. So the range for a woman who is active is 600 to 2000 for pregnanediol, right? Which is the progesterone metabolite. So you see those numbers. Then when you look at the estrogen and the metabolites, you can see at the bottom that the total estrogen. Does everybody have that page? Mm-hmm. Can you guys come help them when people don't have the right pages? Yeah, some people don't have it. Yeah, but be watching, guys. Make sure everybody's on the right page. Yeah. Okay. All right, so if you look at, we're looking at progesterone metabolites, we're looking at estrogen metabolites, and the androgen metabolites, which is the DHEA, the testosterone, and those other ones. So you can see what those ranges are. So when we are looking at this map, and I'm talking about low E2, we are referencing these numbers, right? Why am I going into this kind of detail, walking through this with you? It is your health. If you want the doctor to be the one that knows this and you just follow the doctor, then good luck. Here, we want to make sure that you understand what these numbers are about, because it's your health and you have to make choices about it. If you have low libido and you want it to stay low, then that's fine. You have that choice. You don't have to have high libido, right? Because sometimes people think you're supposed to have high libido. No. Some people like low libido. It's okay.
You're better off. It's not just the high libido, it's your whole energy level.
Well, yeah, but some people may be fine with that. That's what I'm saying. So it's individual's personalized health. It may affect some other things, but you need to bear the consequences of the choices you make. right? Some people have low, and we recommend hormone replacement therapy, and they say no. So we say, okay, you need to supplement or do some other things to maintain those levels, because as you keep aging, it keep going down, because the cholesterol conversion architecture, or what we call the cholesterol metabolism, that produces all of this, also begins to reduce its effectiveness. So you have to help the body supplement to get these things running. Is this making sense, guys? I'm spending a lot of time on this because when we run this test for a lot of our patients or customers, they don't spend the time understanding it so that they can look at their lives. We don't want you to go take antidepressants and all of those other things when it could just be your hormone. If you balance your hormone, you're going to be fine. We are chemistry. We are not our choices. We are chemistry. That's why people who have schizophrenia, you give them lithium, they become okay. It's not like they chose to be schizophrenic, right? It's a chemical imbalance. All of us are chemically balanced or imbalanced. So that's what this whole conversation is about. Is that clear? So it's not like some people are sick and some people are not. We are all playing with the chemistry of balance, right? That is what our practice here focuses on. So we want to find that balance so that you're healthy. So when we say healthy or vitality, it's really a balancing of the chemicals. Really? The biochemistry. So understanding all of this is very important so that you can then make the right choices. Okay? So I'm not going to go any further into that. You have copies of that. Now you have a lot of information. So let's look at, can you pass this around, Grace? So let's look at hormone function and estrogen dysregulation. Okay, so stay on this page. All right, this page. Yeah. All right, let's walk through it. So I'll just read a short part up there, and most of this material you're going to take. Estrogen affects growth, differentiation, and function of numerous tissues throughout the female body. Not just those involved in reproduction, as we were just talking about. The hormone plays an important role in bone health, protects the cardiovascular system, influences behavior and mood. That's why most women who are in menopause are very moody. Yeah, they have mood swings. It's not because they are pissed off with their husband. It's just a hormonal chemistry issue, right? So you become irritable and other things. Same thing with men, right? And so with appropriate levels of estrogen are essential for good health. Several studies conclude inappropriate and increased exposure to estrogen levels to elevated risk for several types of cancers, including those affecting breast, ovaries, and thyroid. Furthermore, disproportionate estrogen exposure can play a role in other female-related health problems, including PCOS and PMS. You see, this is really the challenge about the God architecture. Even if you're looking at anything, I'm a statistician, so there is an upper limit and there is a lower limit. Everything runs in the optimal zone. If estrogen is too low, problem. If estrogen is too high, problem, right? It's the same picture with glucose, right?
Yeah.
Should be 70 to 90. Too low, hypoglycemia. Too high, it's the same thing with cholesterol. Every chemical that God created needs to be in a range. See that? And that's what we do in our diagnostics. We're finding where your range is, and then we are trying to use all the things we call the lifestyle drivers to bring your hormones to the right levels. Is this making sense, guys? So let's quickly finish the discussion here. So you look at, so let's just go to the bottom there and you look at the different hormones. We looked at those ranges before, but turn the next page. So potential causes and symptoms of estrogen dysregulation. Look at the symptoms: depression, loss of sex drive, fatigue, irritability, mood swings and anxieties, breast tenderness, infertility, fibroids and ovarian cysts, PMS, and endometriosis, painful periods. And then look at the causes on the other side. So can somebody tell me what is the difference between symptoms and causes? So what's the difference between a symptom and a cause? Now we're in English language class.
No.
Yeah, the symptom.
The symptom is what you feel, you know, what
What
how
appears
it's
in
affecting
the-
you.
Yeah, and the causes?
The result?
No.
No.
What, how did you get it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because sometimes the language is very interesting. Sorry, I studied in England, so when I come to America, I know many people don't understand English properly. So it's very important that we understand what things mean, right? In England, that's how they teach. You need to understand why they use these different words, and so you understand it appropriately. Symptoms are the things you observe. Causes is what triggered them, right? Are we clear now? So let's look at cause. Perimenopause. Women experiencing it may show higher levels of estrogen relative to progesterone during initial period. So perimenopause is a normal cycle, right? Every woman has perimenopause. You're gonna be fertile, luteal, perimenopause, then menopause. It's a normal cycle, right? So that causes these other things. High cortisol levels, right, could come from stress and a lot of other things. The things I was talking about before, xenoestrogens, right? These are synthetic chemicals that come from a lot of the creams that we use, right? They conclude BPA, like I was talking about the plastics, phthalates, parabens, and other industrial chemicals, right? That's the challenge that most of us don't pay attention. Even when we are buying soaps or creams or makeup and all of that. Then obesity or weight gain, right? That's a cause, because obesity is caused by what mostly? Overeating, exactly. I thought we were gonna, yeah, well, no, the exercise it has nothing to do with it. There are people who eat little and don't exercise and they're slim. So don't say exercise. Exercise has nothing to do with obesity, right? There are lots of people who eat, do not exercise, and they're not obese, right? So it's overeating. Yes.
Living in America.
Exactly. It's become a new, 50 years ago there was no issue, nobody thought about obesity, right? I think I blame it to the entertainment industry, too much TV.
It's lack of exercise.
Well, I think on the cars and sitting in traffic, right?
Yeah.
Diet and alcohol, right? Because one of the big challenges in our culture also is that we started focusing on calories rather than on nutrients, right? And if you focus on nutrients, you saw all these hormones require nutrients for optimal production and levels. So if you're not taking, how many people here are taking their daily standard supply of nutrients? So I thought you were taking your drink, the Aniva.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a standard supply.
Oh, okay.
Yes, at least since you started taking them, right? You take yours too, right? Good, very important. And that's the next thing, nutritional deficiencies. Magnesium, it's like the big one. Magnesium, it's a big one. Vitamin B12, oh, that methylation issue that everybody suffers from, either being over methylated or under methylated. that's another topic for another day. It's big topic. Then folate, then zinc, then copper can lead to increased levels of estrogen, right? Then heavy metals. I just talked about toxicity, right? Heavy metals including mercury act as xenoestrogens by binding to estrogen receptors. So they bind, therefore the estrogen cannot be excreted, so the levels increase. Is that making sense? Are we good? Good. Any questions? Are you now estrogen excited? And the estrogen drives the world, isn't it?
Wait, I thought you said cholesterol.
No. It created women, but after God created them, then they got out of control and started running the world. Right? Now we're going to talk about, it looks like you guys want to just talk about estrogen all day. No, we're now going to talk about thyroid. We're now going to talk about thyroid. Lots of reading stuff, huh? Okay. Are you okay? Need some water? Okay, so the thyroid hormone is essential for life and has myriad of functions in the body. TH, right, regulates our metabolism and is associated with changes in body weight and energy levels. TH is involved in regulating most of all body functions, including breathing, heart rate, nervous system, musculoskeletal health, reproductive health, body temperature, appetite, digestive functions, cholesterol, triglycerides, carbohydrate metabolism. Should I go on? So that is why hypothyroidism, that's why I'm talking about this. A lot of people don't measure it. It runs everything, right? So now let's look at it, the different forms of it. It's very complicated. Comes from your hypothalamus to your pituitary into the thyroid gland, right? So, which is right there somewhere. Yeah, I think I can feel it right there, right? So one of the things so we measure all of these things and we look at the ranges, right? And it begins to tell us where you are on all of this whole cycle for your thyroid function. So now let's go to another beautiful page. And in most cases it's showing women because, like I said, they run the world. And men are just supporting. We are the supporting cast. The main cast, actually, the biochemistry of the world is set by the architecture of the woman. Imagine if the architecture of the woman is out of whack, there's no reproduction. We all disappear. So we use the woman's reference as the basis for determining health in functional medicine, right? The woman's life cycle is the key driver for determining the health of the population. And that's why God also made them more interested in health than men, right? Women are more concerned about their health. I know they say it is about wrinkles and how they look, but deep down it is really, they want to enjoy life, and men don't care, and then we die, and then the women remain behind to spend the money.
We have a lot of functions, we're the caregivers
I know.
of other people's health and the grandchildren to look at. It's multi-generational. So we have many roles. Our work never stops.
By the time we get to 70, our role has died, right? Victor is like, no shit. Yeah, for men. I'm looking like another 10, 15, 20 years and I exit. I'm like, I'm done, right? So let's look at the symptoms. Dry or thinning hair loss, fatigue, depression, cognitive impairment. Where you can't remember my name anymore, right? You're looking at your husband, what's your name again? Hoarseness of voice, you start sounding like me. You start sounding like a jazz singer. Enlarged thyroid gland, so goiter. In Africa, we had a lot of people with goiter. In America, because of your enhanced food systems, you don't see people anymore with a goiter, swollen goiter. Dry skin. Decreased perspiration. You know, I know people who don't sweat. That's not a good thing. You should sweat, right? If you don't sweat, it's another sign, right?
Okay.
Then bradycardia. Actually, a friend of mine when I was in Vietnam, or somebody that I knew, was taken to hospital because of bradycardia, which is very low pulse rate. My pulse rate is about 58, and it's because I exercise. But hers and the husband were so low, they were actually taken to emergency. Hers was 38 and his was about 48. And you know, I didn't even know that it was associated with thyroid, but I'm learning that now. So there's cardiovascular disease, there's hypertension, there's elevated, then there's muscle aches and weakness, weight gain and difficulty losing weight, constipation, infertility, it's okay, infertility, recurrent miscarriage, irregular, cold hands and feet. Ah, that's another one for women. Cold intolerance, right? It's very interesting because I tolerate cold and I tolerate heat very well. It's interesting. I mean, I just came from Vietnam where it was really hot. It's very hot compared to here. Here it's hot but not humid. Vietnam is hot and humid.
Just like the Philippines.
Yes, exactly. It's like there is nowhere to run to, right? But I tolerate it very well. And I also tolerate cold. I studied in England for 10 years, so I also tolerate cold very well. But some people cannot tolerate those extremes. You know, it's very American. It's too hot! It's too cold! Only in America people complain like that. In England, people don't complain. It's too cold. Really? Where are you gonna go? It's cold. Deal with that shit. Only in California, it's too cold, it's too hot. It's too hot, it's too cold. Right? Okay. So let's look at the causes. Stress. We go back to that issue. And we tend to measure it because we look at your CRP levels, nutrient insufficiency or excess. That's interesting, where you're taking too much. Excess fluoride and iodine can damage thyroid cells. That's why if you swim in swimming pools that are treated with thyroid or iodine, you need to be very careful, right? Because it soaks into your skin, right? In the pool, okay? Autoimmune conditions, including Hashimoto's and other congenital and pituitary disorders, toxins, pregnancy and menopause can cause that also. Medications, then reduced absorption of thyroid hormone replacement, which is some medications that are given for that. How are we doing for time? Are you enjoying this class? So how many people here have taken a thyroid test? You don't remember? I think you have. You.
Doctors usually in general physical test for T3, T4, and TH.
Wow, you must have a really good doctor. Which doctor is that?
St. Joseph's Heritage.
That's obviously St. Joseph's. Okay, yeah. But
Some physical, they don't do thyroid tests.
you're taking thyroid medication. But when did you last test it?
Well, the thing is, I don't know, I cannot remember, but it's way back in the Philippines.
That's a long time ago. You need to test it again. It's good to just test it and make sure you're not over-medicating, right? Because you could be taking too much medication. So you need to, every year, as she just said, you need to test, know where the levels are.
How do you do it? By blood or what?
Well, we run a lot. It differs. We could use urine, we could use blood, we could use hair, There are different things that we
When
could
you did
use.
the Boston test, was it thyroid
Yes,
in
there
there?
was that.
Yeah, some of that is there. Well, but I don't know. We need to check. Just make sure. Or we could do the urine test. So first of all, it is very important, and it is your responsibility to know what your numbers are. It's your life, isn't it? It's your life. It's not my life. So when we run these reports, or your doctor runs the report, don't depend on the doctor, because they're very busy and they're not paid enough to spend time educating you on your numbers. That's why we run the clinic that we run. We have a lot of time to explain. That's why we run these workshops. So we really get people to really understand the numbers. Why? Because if you understand the numbers, you're going to make choices to support and maintain homeostasis, right? So when you're in a restaurant, you know what to eat. You're not like, oh, I like this, I don't like that. Life is not about what you like. Life is about what you need. Right? That's the way we're trained in England. No, you can't hear people in England say, I like this, I don't like that. Who cares about what you like? God didn't design your body by what you like. He designed it based on what you need. Are we clear about that? So you can't say, I don't like broccoli. Yeah, good luck to you. We all need broccoli, because a lot of what is in the broccoli might not be gotten anywhere else. Right? Isn't it? Oh, I don't like eggplant. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like drinking water, right? Most American kids don't drink water because they were all sold on drinking soda. Right? So now when we try to make them drink water, everybody's like, I don't like the taste of water. Who said you should like it? Your body needs it, right? Okay, so we're going to conclude. Any questions? We're going to conclude with the final technical paper on what we call estrogen metabolism. Lots of reading material, right? Soon you're going to get a PhD in your body, on your own health, from attending my classes, right? We have an exam next week. If you come for that exam and you pass, we will supply you a whole year's supply of your supplements. Isn't that a good deal?
Yes.
You come, you write the exam, you pass the exam. Well, you have to pass. I wasn't saying just come. Come on. This is not an American elementary school that's showing up already. We give you an award for showing up. This you have to pass. There is no award for attendance. This is you have to pass the exam. So do you think that I'm going to be a fair person to set the exam? You think you would pass if I set the exam? What do you think, so?
What is it? What is it?
It would be based on the material I've been teaching.
You mean on today material?
Well, no, the materials from all past workshops. So there will be questions from every workshop, and every workshop that you've attended, then we'll make sure that you score above 50.
Is it a multiple?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. If it's multiple, it doesn't matter. Yeah, multiple choice, it doesn't matter.
No, what I will do, no, I will give you a diagram like this,
Yes.
and these things will be blank, and you have to fill it up.
Yeah, no.
That's a dissertation.
And I want to degree though.
Well, but I'm going to award you an anti-fragility health degree. Yeah, you get the pin, and you join what we call the fraternity club of anti-fragility health. So I want to explain to you what anti-fragility health means, right? It means a health that is strong, vital, not fragile. Thank you. And even when it goes down, it comes back up stronger, because it learns from every fall, right? So fragility and anti-fragility are very important issues, right? We want to make sure that we keep you healthy, because it's cheaper. Prevention is cheaper than treatment. So President Trump just signed the bill, the executive order, saying we could sell our organs, right? I know someone. Oh, my liberal postman is here.
How are you?
I was talking about Trump.
You got him.
Yes. So he passed an executive order yesterday about transplants, right? Because you know that if you have a kidney failure, critical kidney disease, dialysis is the only option, and the average time you stay alive on dialysis is about 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not and it's a very, very expensive.
Very expensive.
Because you have to do it about 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people in Southern California are on dialysis?
It's a huge, right now, there's a big population.
So think about it. So can somebody give me a number? About 1 million in Southern
Million in
California.
Southern California?
Yes.
No wonder there's dialysis centers.
No, there's everywhere. There's a big business right now in dialysis. Yeah, because of the amount of people they know.
What is causing this increase in kidney failure besides diabetes? I know that's the leading cause.
Alcohol,
Too much candy,
too much pills. Yeah, a lot of taking many medications together. Some people aren't. But mostly alcohol, mostly diabetes. But really diabetes is the big one.
The big driver.
Yes, and the sugar consumption.
All those medication they have to metabolize by
Yeah.
liver or kidney. So if
Everything.
you take medication for a long time, your kidney
They
will
destroy
fail.
your kidney.
So by the time that you are 5.7 or 6.0 HbA1c, A1c, the measure, right? By that time, your kidney functionality and your pancreas functionality is significantly, yes. Thank you to the liberal king. Have a good day, my friend.
Adios, amigo.
Amigos.
So there's 588 licensed dialysis centers with 80,000 patients each month.
Oh my goodness.
An average of 22 dialysis stations. Of those 588 they have.
Do you hear that, guys? Why would they shut them down? Because, I mean, we're keeping people alive and paying for it because, you know, this whole conversation is a very big conversation that the country is not having. We cannot keep people on dialysis. It's burning, it's too expensive. It's really, really expensive. 3 times a week, and we are not controlling how people eat. And we know what's causing kidney failure. You understand? Drugs, yeah? Lifestyle. So at some point we're going to lose our democracy because it's too expensive to have a democracy.
The dialysis centers killed a bill in Sacramento to manage the cost.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a challenging issue. I know, because if I'm going to need dialysis, I'm going to want to have it if I can afford it. But the challenge is that for people who are on Medicare or Medi-Cal, who are on dialysis, the costs are amazing. They're astronomical. I'm not saying we kill people, but we need to sit back and say, as we just did, what are the symptoms and what are the causes? And we do something about the causes, right?
Prevent.
First of all, we should not have fast food restaurants or soda being sold in America. You can feel that if I was a dictator, I would just ban the shit. Why don't we? It has no value. Soda has no value in the culture.
It's $1 billion industry.
I don't care whether it's $1 billion. We should spend $1 billion on water systems.
Outright cigarette.
Well, exactly. Well, you ban that too. Ban fast food restaurants. And then make every family start cooking at home.
You could businesses.
I was just creating a new culture. I was running my platform for president, right?
But here's the thing, though. It's all about accountability. You can't just. You can't, because people have to be accountable for their actions.
Yeah, but hold on, Kim. That's the challenge, right? Collectively, I come from a village culture that was dictatorial, where everybody followed a certain way. There was no choice, right? And the reason we all escaped to America,
Freedom.
because we have freedom.
Yeah.
I can eat McDonald's every day. That's my right.
Wait, that doesn't mean I want to eat McDonald's, though. But I'm saying that every day's accountable.
I'm just saying that that's why we all came here. So now if we say you cannot eat McDonald's every day, you're controlling somebody, right? But so I go to the other extreme. If you want to eat McDonald's every day, then I should not pay for your health care.
No, then you have to go exercise every day.
Yeah, if you're free. Eat McDonald's every day, like in my culture.
Sprint to McDonald's. You run 5 miles and you eat.
In Cameroon, if you're sick and you have no money, you die.
That's true.
In
Yes.
Cameroon?
Yes. In Vietnam also. In most other countries in the world, if you're sick and you have no money, you die. In China, right? You die. That's how life works everywhere else. You cannot make choices and then at the end we have to pay for your bad choices. And we know that lifestyle drives 90% of chronic illness.
Yes. Agree.
So we need a dictatorship run by Anti-Fragility Health. Run by Anti-Fragility Health, and we will give you a prescription of your diet every day and lifestyle arrangements, and we will have the Anti-Fragility Health police that shows up. You woke up 5 minutes too early, go back to sleep. Today you've been overstressed. 10 push-ups. Right? Yes, and then we'll put all those microchips in your stomach. You've eaten too much. Stop eating now. Right? So we'll just trigger, you'll have these alerts going on, just pinging people who are eating too much, or sleeping too much, or not working hard enough, right? Right? Now it's exercise time. We've put the buttons on and you start marching. You know what they do in Moscow? At the subway. You do 100 push-ups, they give you free tickets for the month on the subway. Yeah, yeah. So people come and they do their push-ups, and the machine gives them the ticket.
Wow.
Yeah. Good compensation, right?
Yeah.
How are you enjoying this? Huh?
Moscow, which station? I know.
It's on YouTube. That's it's a YouTube.
All the stations.
Yeah. So one of the things that we tend to do is that we tend to start all our patients on a detox. You have to clean the system actually before we do the measurements, because sometimes the toxicity compounds the measurements, right? As you saw, sometimes the toxins hold on to these chemicals, and so we measure them, we get the wrong measurements. So how often should you detox?
Every 3 months.
I love it.
So I'm not doing it.
Okay, how many people here detox every 3 months? You're all full of toxins. I was wondering why we had a toxin alert when you guys walked in here. You all are full of toxins. How many people detox every day? You should detox every day.
Yeah, the method.
Okay, so we have it. A lot of people use that. Why should you detox every day, Victor?
So your body can be
No,
efficient.
yeah, but why should you do it? Because toxins are coming in every day. Where are they coming in from, Victor?
The carpets, the air, the car exhaust,
Everything.
Outside environment.
the invisible radio waves, everything.
Yeah, the EMFs with 5G, right? So every day, the water, the food, right? Everything, the air, we're getting toxins in us every day. And so toxins compound or challenge the effectiveness of the hormones and of our overall biochemistry. So cleaning the toxins out really allows the system to regain and rebalance itself. So toxins are like inhibitors. So it's very important. So we recommend Metalloclear. This one is for heavy metal metabolism. And then we have Sulfuroclear, which is the support, which is really the anti-inflammatory issues from things like broccoli and things like that, the sulfur carrying compounds. This one is really amazing for that. And then typically every 3 months you want to do a real elimination diet. That is what the detox is, that 10-day or 28-day detox. It actually removes all the food, it cleans your metabolism, and then reintroduces slowly back into the system. So it helps the body systems reconfigure themselves. It's almost like going for service. That's what a detox is. It's like a service. You actually stop the system and then restart the system.
It's oil change.
Yes, it's almost like an oil. It's no more than an oil change. It's an oil flush. It's a tune-up and a flush.
On your transmission flush? Is that
Yes, it's a flush and a change.
What
So
about the
it's
stem cell, the glutathione?
yes. Actually, can you bring me the stem cell patches? Oh no, I have them here. Sorry.
Yeah, is that the glutathione?
Yes. So let's look at the stem cell patches. Yes. Okay. So, oh yes, so some people here are not familiar with them. Thank you, Kim, for bringing it up. So we have, these are just new. They were launched this year. They're called stem cell patches.
I got that.
You're using it, right? Tell us so.
So far, so good.
What does that mean, so?
Oh, I got the energy. I've been, because of my activities at church, I've been up. But then, I'm still waiting for my blood work. Remember our condition?
Yes.
My scheduled blood work is on the 22nd.
Okay, when that comes, we're going to see the amazing
I'm gonna
improvements.
see the change. But I've been.
So,
Now, my question in that patch, you said it's effective 12 to 18 hours.
correct.
What happens if you leave it on for longer?
That's fine. You might just get some rashes on your skin. So, and its effectiveness reduces over time. So all it's doing is that it's stimulating your own stem cells. So this is like a way to reverse a lot of the genetic damage that has been done by bad lifestyle. So don't forget that if you change your lifestyle from today, like you start drinking water, good water today, it's not going to reverse the damage that has been done before. So stem cells have that capability in that they go back, repair, and renew the cells. Is that making sense? So for example, if you're diabetic today, it means that 60 to 70% of your pancreas is already injured. If you started a good diet today, your HbA1c is going to low. You may come out of diabetes, but your pancreatic